And we're live. Welcome back to LOOPcast. Today I'm joined by Erica and Josh. How are we feeling today, guys?
Great. I'm revved up. We have so much to say.
I mean, I'm having a great day, but my kids are having a better day because it's a snow day for my kids.
Nice.
Lucky.
Nothing better than some snow.
They love it. They love it.
Josh, you're in unfamiliar territory. You're in the swamp, correct?
I am in the swamp, and man, I cannot stand the smell. Let me tell you what.
Are you there to drain it, Josh?
I'm not the only one here in the swamp, too, because my coworker, good buddy Tommy Valentine, was at the Supreme Court, so we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah. You know, Catholic vote, we don't like the swamp. We fight the swamp, but we will go in there and drain it if we have to. So.
And a extra warm, good welcome to everyone here live in the chat. I see Dora is getting refined. The most beautiful reading. Thank you. Did you put out something this morning, Erica?
So Refine runs Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So today's an off day to gather more resources to refine the lives of Americans. But yeah, we're off to a good start. We had our opening day last week on a Friday, a little special issue there. And now we're into our groove. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go over to refinelife.co and get subscribed. We're ready to do it.
Dare I say you are refine?
Yes, you may say that.
So that
cute.
People
very cute, Pogo.
So that people can get refined.
Yes, exactly. We are refine in order for refining.
Okay.
Don't let me bottom line, don't let me anywhere near this project. I will ruin it with puns and humor, and it will no longer be refined.
See, though, the thing is, you were kind of, I mean, come on. You're half a Team Hairspray. You're good and refined. You don't want this guy near refined. It's like Mr. Tacky. No.
Yeah, like maybe I could just turn into an influencer. I'll just do outfit of the days for refine. Totally.
That's right.
That
and then they show what not to wear. I'm like the before in every picture, and you're the after. You know?
All right, let me know.
I love it.
Listen, I'm signing the pots and I'm doing outfit of the day.
You signed the pot? All right, good. Yep, we did. We did send off the giveaway goods to a happy winner, and so thanks to everyone who participated in that.
That's awesome.
She preferred to remain anonymous, so there will be no great photographs. But anyway, it went off, and here we are. We're off to refine. So get subscribed.
That's exciting. Okay, so I have a little bit of fan mail before we get into the episode. So from Tyler, Texas, I 100% agree you need a Southerner for the food episode.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
I also listened to the 40 Days for Life podcast, and I think Sean Carney would be a great addition. I'm pretty sure they talk about food on almost every episode. That might be even more than us. I'm quite biased since he's my brother. Love what you guys do.
There you go.
I have been wanting to comment that I think Bishop Strickland as the ambassador to the Vatican is hilarious. I actually shared that with him. I am from Tyler, Texas, and we knew him back in the day when he was Father Joe. That's awesome. Shout out to you. And then from Steve, he said he enjoyed the food draft episode. Here's how we do it in Louisiana. And this is definitely worth sharing. Let me share. This is an insane picture. I have not done Thanksgiving this way. I'd be happy to join if I get an invite.
Whoa.
If we could zoom in here. Fire. This is a pig. This is
a pig in front of a fire.
Cockon Daylight. Of a 65-pound
I'm
pig.
sure you pronounced that correct.
Yeah, I think I nailed that one.
Yeah. Cochon de lait.
Is that really how it's pronounced, Josh?
That would be my guess. I'm closer to you, I bet.
That sounded much
I will say this.
I'm
originally from Minnesota, boring palate for food, ranch dressing on everything. But let me tell you, I've been to New Orleans several times, and I love their food. They do it right. I love it. I'm all there for it. Give it to me.
Do you have any guess on how many people this fed?
Oh, a pig that size?
65-pound pig.
Yeah. 65. So
42 people ate.
I was going to say.
Yeah. 42 people ate and brought leftovers home. So
that's great, though. That's
Louisiana.
Awesome. How hungry were they then? No, that just means there's a lot of other fixins there. That's okay.
That's true. I guarantee there was. And then final one, Josh, your puzzle habit has caught on. Listening to Josh talk about picking up his new puzzle hobby while I do a digital puzzle and watch today's Loopcast. And she sent a screenshot to prove. So the puzzlers are out there, Josh.
That's great.
And, you can send your used puzzles to me. So
sounds good. But, of course, today we got to talk about our sponsor, Charity Mobile. Now more than ever, it's important to buy the way you believe. Stop doing business with companies who don't appreciate you and what you stand for. It's time to switch to the pro-life phone company, Charity Mobile. They have the same reliable nationwide coverage as the big guys, and they send 5% of your monthly plan price to your favorite pro-life, pro-family charity, no extra cost to you. Charity Mobile offers a variety of plans from the unlimited data to talk and text only, and also a variety of devices from the latest 5G smartphones to basic flip phones. There are no contracts, and their friendly live customer service team is based right here in the U.S. While supplies last, new customers can get a free phone and free activation, free standard shipping, and a free travel charging kit as a part of their special Christmas offer when you use the promo code LOOPcast. Go to CharityMobile.com and enter promo code LOOPcast at checkout. That's CharityMobile.com, promo code LOOPcast. It is Christmas. You're thinking about gifts? Think Charity Mobile. Thanks, guys.
I love it. I've been telling people about that too. So I think I'm going to get somebody signed up before the week is out.
Hopefully get many people signed up. They're great service.
Well, not just through our thing. I mean, I'm personally going, you should check out Charity Mobile. I make the pitch.
That's what I
respect Charity Mobile for being a good partner. So, we need to get Charity Mobile to send us some coffee mugs or something.
Yeah, do they have them?
Get on the show. Come on, guys.
Look, we take them. Okay, so let's get into it here. So we have a pretty landmark SCOTUS case, I'd say, when it comes to transgender. You know what? This is kind of a trap. I was even thinking about it for the YouTube title. Like we use something to help suggest good YouTube titles, of course, dripped with activist language. I'm going to be referring to what's going on and maybe what some people are saying and some people aren't saying. So don't kill me on the verbiage here. But I'm going to say this has to do with transgender procedures, operations on minor children. It's being referred to as gender affirming care, which I find to be euphemistic.
Euphemism.
Evil.
But you will see that around. Basically, it's in regards to whether or not transgender surgeries, hormones, it's like the whole gamut of making decisions for children, changing their sexes. They're going to refer to it as gender, but that's what's going on here. SCOTUS is hearing it right now. And a little bit of background on the case, just so you guys know. Josh, I know you're in D.C. today, and Tommy's down there with you. But in June 2023, a law went into effect in Tennessee, which bans doctors and healthcare providers from giving so-called gender-affirming care to minors, including surgery, puberty blockers, and hormones. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, the Biden administration, and several teenage plaintiffs sued. The law protecting Tennessee's children was upheld by the Sixth Court Circuit in December 2023. SCOTUS
Circuit Court.
Yes, Circuit Court. SCOTUS took up the case in June of 2024, calling it United States versus Scarametti. Today, the court will hear oral arguments for and against Tennessee's law banning irreversible gender transition procedures for children. The central constitutional question is whether or not Tennessee law SB 1 unlawfully discriminates under the 14th Amendment or constitutes a legitimate exercise of state authority to protect minors from medically and scientifically uncertain procedures.
That good old 14th Amendment keeps popping up, right?
What is the 14th Amendment, Erica? People need a refresher.
Yeah, so the 14th Amendment is one of a set of amendments that went into effect after the Civil War, and they were intended to help bring Black Americans, former slaves, into full citizenship. The 14th Amendment, in this case, is being utilized for its Equal Protection Clause, and the Equal Protection Clause is basically that you cannot discriminate on an American citizen based on XYZ under the law. Everyone's entitled to due process and equal protection under the law. And of course, this has been in modern times after the oh my gosh, what's the case?
Civil Rights Act?
Civil Rights Act. No, I'm thinking of the case in Connecticut. Bostock was later. What's the Connecticut case? Yes, I'm totally blanking.
You're talking about the pill.
I am talking about the pill, and none of us can think of the name of the case. Prior to Roe v. Wade, we had a case in Connecticut that interpreted the 14th Amendment as having this
privacy
right
rights,
to
right.
privacy. Right. And since then, it has been used in all of these sort of sex reproductive, quote unquote, rights cases to argue that we have a right to privacy. We have a right to this under the law. Griswold, thank you. I cannot believe I just gave a class about this. I'm like, whoa.
Bang.
Whoa.
Hey, I've been traveling. It took me a hot minute.
I know. Griswold v. Connecticut, Erica.
Keep you humble, Erica. You can't.
Right.
You're not a constitutional lawyer.
You've lived in Connecticut longer than I have, so.
Yeah, exactly. So here the ACLU is going to argue this morning before the court that under the 14th Amendment due process anti-discrimination, Tennessee is discriminating against children with gender dysphoria, forbidding them from having access to this so-called care, which is actually castration, hormonal therapy, blah, 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 that has irreversible effects. But they're going to argue that it's discrimination. It's interesting, though, and we might get into this a little bit further. The lead lawyer for the ACLU here, Chase Strangio, who's a woman who now identifies as a man. She also admitted on national television yesterday that she's also going to argue that this is really about the parents' rights to do whatever they want to their children. Because, of course, the kids, as she says in the interview, can't consent to this kind of care. She's talking about, she dropped the age of 2 years old. She's saying 2-year-olds know what they want and parents should be able to do whatever they want to that child. And that's what her argument's going to be, is that we're discriminating against the parents of these children and telling them what they can do. There's the interview. I mean,
for those wondering why this individual was chosen, it becomes pretty clear in this quick video. I'm not going to play all of it, but the voice will definitely surprise you.
Strangio, Chase, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. So the case comes at a time when 26 states have passed laws restricting healthcare treatments for transgender youth, according to a CNN analysis of data from the nonprofit think tank Movement Advancement Project. So how do you plan to argue before the U.S. Supreme Court in a case that could have wide-ranging implications beyond the state of Tennessee?
Well, thank you for having me, Jake. And obviously, this is a critical inflection point for transgender people across the country. We're coming off of an election season where transgender people played an outside role in people's consciousness in terms of the way in which we were situated as a threat to others. And when we look at the map of states that ban this type of evidence-based healthcare, we went from 0 states that had these bans in 2020 to now more than half the country. So before the court tomorrow, the question is really a simple one as I see it. This is a law that bans medical treatment only when it is prescribed inconsistent with an individual's sex. Our argument is that treats people differently because of their sex, and therefore the court has to treat it like all other forms of sex discrimination, and that's why it's unconstitutional.
Oh, man.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Lola.
I would have never been able to guess what this individual's voice sounded like. I mean, just seeing. It's funny. I know they're sending this lawyer, the ACLU, sending this lawyer to make a point, obviously, but it's. To me, the point almost is in reverse. It's to see someone clearly just doing everything they possibly can to pretend to be something that they are not, but the voice not trailing, I think, is this maybe the most stark reminder of what could potentially be done to these children.
To me, again, it's just worth recalling that, the left has insisted that parents have no rights for so long. Like if you wanted to homeschool your children, they'd be like, no, you should send them to our government schools. Mm-hmm. And if you're like, hey, if I have to send my kid to a public school, I don't want them to get your, crazy sex education stuff. I'd prefer to keep that to my, teach my kids. Oh, you're against, why? So for years and years and decades, the left has been against parents exerting control over their kids. I don't want my kids to see porno books. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're against reading and all this other stuff.
You're a book banner.
And then finally,
the ACLU themselves went after that.
Having rejected this idea that parents should have any agency in their own children's lives at all when it comes to their education and uprearing, now they turn on a dime and they're enlisting our own words against us. Hey, we want to mutilate the genitals of little children, and you believe in parents' rights, so therefore you should be totally in favor of this. You haven't believed in parents' rights at all, and now you're going to use it so that you can scar our children? No way. Screw you. Right. These people are so full of baloney.
And I know Matt Walsh is down there. I know Chloe Cole is down there. There's a lot of big names on the Hill. This, of course, has a lot of implications. I think one of the biggest arguments, too, if I may, is that, and it's worth bringing up because it keeps getting brought up, is that the ominous line of would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son kind of made popular by the What is a Woman documentary. But it's the idea that for these children who struggle with gender identity, that they might unfortunately take their own lives. And there's actually a lot of evidence pointing to quite the opposite. People that receive these type of gender interventions actually have much higher suicide rates and much higher anxiety and depression and things like that.
They have all those problems that they had before, plus they've mutilated their body.
Right, it's a chicken and the egg too. And to your point, Josh, about the hypocrisy, they kind of want to have it both ways. It's if they do have the transition, the reason why they're suicidal or whatever, it's societal pressure. And if they don't get it, then it also will they'll also have problems. So it's all pointing one side, and it's medical intervention at the incentive, the monetary incentive of a lot of these health industry
corporations,
people.
yeah,
Right.
and they make a lot of money on having these customers for life. And
No doubt.
it's kind of crass. I don't mean to be, but it's the problem isn't what's between your legs; it's what's between your ears. These people are suffering from gender dysphoria. I don't mean to be callous about it or flippant, but they do need help. They do need, what they don't need is, here are ways that you can castrate yourself or mutilate your genitals and do all these life-altering surgeries that, again, you're talking about a case where it's interesting, by the way, even gays are starting to get involved in this issue because they look at this like, oh, you're attracted to this other side. You must have been born in the wrong body, and let's mutilate your body so that, so that's the way to kind of cure being gay. That's a whole other issue, but that's why gays actually might start turning against the whole trans stuff.
Well, and they have. Yeah, we've got Gays Against Groomers.
Right.
We've got the LGB without the T. Martina Navratilova is on that. Yeah.
But I just, again, you want to do this to your body after the age of 18, I think it's still a stupid idea, and I'd be totally in favor of banning it all, but absolutely ban it for kids. You're talking about life-altering decisions, and I totally feel like we need to investigate a lot of these suburban moms who act like these actresses who feel like it's a mark of, making it in society by having a kid who's trans. It's really a lot of these moms that are going kind of crazy.
It's the show moms. It's the moms who show up on all of the pageant shows and the dance. And here's my pet poodle and here's my trans child. I think there was a story that we talked about back in the spring that the rate of children of Hollywood actors who are transing themselves is close to 40%. And you're like, that is not even close to a natural phenomenon that we're talking about.
1 in 1,000 would be more normal.
Yes. And Abigail Schreier has done a great job of researching the idea of social contagion as the driving force of this whole trans movement. I think that in that interview that we just watched later on, Chase brings up that, we have all these longitudinal studies now that prove that gender affirming care is life-saving. And and the problem is, as you pointed out, Josh, those studies that she's referring to are funded by the very big pharma corporations that are benefiting off of these surgeries, which run $30,000 to $120,000 a pop. Plus, it turns you into a lifelong patient of these companies. If you actually look at studies that were performed outside the aegis of big pharma, we go to Europe. Europe was about 25 years ahead of us on adopting this so-called gender-affirming care for kids. Those longitudinal studies show us that, as you said, suicidal ideation actually increases the earlier and the more violently you rip apart these kids' bodies. Not only that, we had in the United States an NIH study that was done longitudinally on the effects of this, and the results have not been published because they did not back up the ideology of the trans movement. I'm going to pull that study right now and put it in the chat because that was an absolute scandal of the overthrow of any pretense of scientific objectivity in our medical institutions when the NIH said, we're not going to publish that one because the results show that actually gender affirming care in minors is harmful.
Wait, but RFK Jr. is going to he's dangerous and he's going to blow things up. I don't know what.
Good. Blow that baby out of the water.
Here's the thing. I'm as patriotic as they come. I love my country so much. But one way that does frustrate me about the United States is that, and this goes for the left and right, both actually, is we're far too ideological. And a true conservative, Russell Kirk style, is not ideological. The idea behind what it is to be a conservative is the progressive likes the brand new and the conservative likes the old and tried, as opposed to the new and untried. And you look at Europe and overall, no question, Europe is much more leftist than the United States, of course. But I do feel like in Europe, they still have that kind of practicality to them. So like in England, they're stopped doing this stuff. And other countries, like I can't remember if it was Sweden, or they stopped doing it too. Like they look at the evidence.
They're much more moderate on abortion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's just that they temper their progressive values with real world experience, at least somewhat. Whereas the leftists in this country are so pure ideological, and it's 100%, and like you're a villain if you're like a sliver off. And so there's never this ability on the left to say, maybe we're going too far.
Could that be a product of the parliamentary system, Josh?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the United States for so long, both the left and right have imbibed this idea, we're a constitutional republic based on like the Constitution, and we're not based on a people.
We're based on ideas, right?
Or, America is an idea,
right?
As opposed to a people
heresy.
that live here. We're a culture. We're a people. We live in this land. Wall Street Journal is, America's an idea, and we can import 1 million people from another country, and as long as they love the market, everything's fine. Yeah. It's like, no, actually, I'm an 11th generation American, thank you, and a new generation American. Come on, I love you, but we're not just ideas. We are a people too. We're not just a parking lot. So J.D. Vance talks about this better than anyone in public life today. Trump understands it intuitively in his bones. But J.D. Vance can articulate it in a better way. Yeah. We're not just, we're not interchangeable. Yes, we can welcome it. But anyway, that's why I think Europe, there's still that. France has it actually better than most countries, even though they're kind of crazy. France has an identity. They are French. And so, conservatives in France need to lean on that. But that's why I think some of these countries like Sweden and in England are like pushing back at some of this trans stuff, goes, wait a minute, what are we doing to our kids? Whereas in the United States, the progressive left is like, ideology is what matters, and they're at service to the ideology, and they never let reality kind of tap them on the shoulder and go, "Are you sure about that? Mm-hmm. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this?" They never temper themselves that way.
Josh, you're not going to sleight of hand me into talking well of the French. So, nice try.
They have their points. Joan of Arc, you got to give to Joan of Arc, and Notre Dame opening, right?
They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal at surrendering.
I went to that restaurant.
They're the best at it.
I went to that restaurant in North Carolina that served the freedom fries in 2003. So
the awesome. French are phenomenal at surrendering and being rude to tourists. Big two.
No, there's a reason. I'm actually more pro-Francophile than you might think.
Probably. That's interesting. Okay, so we got to move on. Tight show today. We'll let you know the oral arguments are actually being heard today, so maybe we'll be able to address them in
there's
more
an
detail on Friday.
Last little coat on this whole argument. On January 20th, we'll have a new president. And if he wanted to, he could instruct his Justice Department to withdraw, because the reason why we have this court case is because the Biden administration is challenging it.
Interesting.
Now, there's some thought amongst us conservatives, like, actually allow this to continue, because we want to win this case. Right. There's no reason to pull out of it, because I think the oral arguments that going on, I didn't get a chance to peruse it too much before this podcast, but it seems like Chief Justice John Roberts, who you're never sure where he's going, sounds like he's totally on board with this case. He's not believing the Biden administration's arguments on this. Mm-hmm. So it looks like, take the win. You don't need to pull out of the case. So we'll see what happens, but.
Right. And then it could come back with a different court makeup that would be more suspect potentially. We're in a good place now.
Yeah. I think the court makeup is going to be better anyway, but it's like, just take the win. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. Take the win. So I actually requested that Erica become an expert in South Korean politics overnight. I was perusing Twitter yesterday, and it is wild. So, I mean, the videos coming out are crazy. Their president, Yoon Suk Yeol, declared martial law for about 6 hours, and basically the rest of the politicians in the country were like, no, that's not going to happen.
Well, it's not like he declared it for only 6 hours. He declared it, and 6 hours later,
they were like, no.
He turned it over. Yeah.
He was unanimously, too.
He had to walk that back pretty fast.
They're like, please, no, thank you. So that's basically what happened. I want a little bit more context on this, Erica. If you were able to successfully become an expert, could you please shed some light in this situation?
Well, I'm not the expert, but I did read more than you did. So I'm just going to share what I read. Here's my cliff notes for anyone who's wondering. And this is really important. The images that you just saw on the screen of that video, that was the military going into the parliament for South Korea and actually like ousting all of the elected representatives of the people and saying, you got to get out of here. We're in charge now. So it's pretty disturbing. Try January 6th if it really was an insurrection and really actually did anything bad, like 20 times worse. This was really, really bad. So what was his reasoning? Yoon said that he had detected a North Korean infiltration of his government systems, and that all these impeachments that have been going on of his own appointees to the government warranted him imposing martial law to, quote, protect liberal democracy and ensure the safety of the people. again, against these sort of like unidentified North Korean Chinese forces that were operating covertly in South Korea to overthrow the government. He offered no evidence for this. He had no testimony. There were no documents released or anything. He just kind of brought in the military, and it did not go well. Lawmakers in South Korea, there's actually a video of them scaling the walls back into the National Assembly, fighting off the armed guards so they can cast their votes against the measure, and it was unanimous. I mean, everyone from every political side of every aisle that you can imagine was just like, no, 190-0, you're out of here. And there had been some talk of impeaching Yoon earlier in his term, and I think he pretty much sealed the deal. They went ahead and they moved to impeach him this morning. He offered to resign. Whether or not his resignation is accepted, I'm pretty sure it will be. We'll be there. Well, okay. So here comes, why does this matter to us? Well, it turns out Asia is a big deal, and we tend to forget about it here in America. The mainstream media is not covering this, but it turns out there's a lot of people in Asia, China in particular. South Korea, together with Japan, and they don't always get along very well. South Korea is our big linchpin partner for nuclear deterrence in the region. And you might remember, my grandfather fought in the war. We fought a really big war, and a lot of our people died over there to keep that foothold on the Korean peninsula. And Yoon, up until this point, has been an ally of the Biden administration. Everyone like, oh, he's a U.S. ally. Woohoo. Well, he's a
Erica,
Biden administration ally.
He's saying American Pie, karaoke style.
I hate that song.
Yeah, so
that's
like his big claim to fame. Like the only reason people knew him before this was like he came to America and sang American Pie. So I'm just saying.
It's true. It's true. He has been pushing for unification.
The music was sad though.
Yeah. Yes, it is sad. It's a song about death. I mean, or do you want to go into American Pie, or should I finish my long
finish
my ramble?
I'm
okay.
thinking about Buddy Holly.
Yeah, Josh is thinking about American Pie. Basically, the issue here is that if he is ousted, it is most likely the opposition party, which is essentially the Liberal Democrat Party of Korea, will take over the government. And that party definitely favors conciliation with North Korea and China. They are more about distancing South Korea from the United States interests. And so it's going to be tricky for Trump and all of his foreign policy coming into that region and trying to continue deterrence towards China. So again, in an era of instability in Russia, Ukraine, in the Middle East, this just further destabilizes that third piece of the puzzle in Northeast Asia. So all eyes on the Koreas right now, wondering what's going to happen. Can we get some Trump magic over there? Hope so. Because I don't want China to feel like, woohoo!
I do have
Korean
to say,
Peninsula's back.
I saw a really funny meme of the North Korean dictator looking at an image of President Trump with Elon Musk, and the caption for the North Korean dictator is like, oh, he found a new rocket, man.
Oh. Oof. All joking aside, though, it's serious stuff.
Have you ever?
Yeah, obviously it is.
Gosh dang it, because I was going to go joke and now Erica's make me feel bad. Have you ever looked up a list of titles for Kim Jong-un?
Oh, I'm sure it's glorious.
Unbelievable. His list of titles are
north of 100, I'm guessing.
Oh, there's a lot, and some of them are hilarious. And then also, he outlawed other people in North Korea wearing leather jackets because he wears leather jackets, and I almost respect the pettiness of that.
He also has outlawed, like most North Koreans, eating a full meal every day. So, I mean, the
yeah.
That was there was a discussion about online whether or not we needed laws that get people to be skinny, and someone says you don't need laws to get people to be skinny, and you just enact socialism, and everyone will be skinny because no one will be able to eat.
When they ban our cows because they're ruining the climate, then we'll all get skinny. Don't ban my cows. I love cow. Alive and dead.
There's love and hate in the chat for American Pie, and there's also hate for lava cake.
Oh, come on, guys! You haven't had my lava cake.
Oh man,
tradition, you know.
I'm gonna need to bring this up on another episode because his titles are so funny. But I'm getting his all his titles as in outstanding leader of the Yush Revolution, the only and unique successor and leader of the Yush Revolution, the symbol of mightiness of our country, banner of all victor and glory, great leader, peerlessly great man, great leader of our party, state, and armed forces.
Oh my gosh.
Brilliant
I would
comrade,
love a
general.
I want a Jordan Peterson psychological profile of Kim Jong-un.
Oh, that'd be
He gave
impossible.
one of Trump, and it's like the only thing I'll listen to Jordan Peterson do is psychological profile.
Yeah, he's kind
I
of.
feel like I don't have enough titles now. I only have Oracle.
Yeah, we got to work on some.
Oracle of Petoskey.
It's a good one, but I got to add a few
leader
more.
of the Loop.
Hey, chat. We're gonna need some immediate hilarious titles for Josh. Yeah, we're gonna need to get on it. Okay, we got tons of this show, and I do want to get into. So the jury's actually deliberating right now over the Danial Penny case, and I'm hopeful. I see this as somewhat of a bellwether for the country. Yes, he's being tried in Manhattan. So Danial Penny is facing charges of second-degree manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide in the death of Jordan Neely, 30-year-old street artist, Michael Jackson impersonator. I feel like we all know this at this point. If convicted, he's facing 15 years in prison. He was greeted walking in to the courthouse with heckles of guilty at him, which don't make me feel super great. I mean, again, no one has looked more like a hero in the history of heroes. I mean, just a strikingly good-looking dude. But I was looking into the lead prosecutor, and again, New York City being supposedly kind of the epicenter of, quote, restorative justice, I thought I'd be hopeful for, a place that downgrades felonies and hopeful for justice. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I found a video of the lead prosecutor who, if you want to talk about, what's the study of, is it physiognometry? Physiognomy. Basically, is it basically kind of the contents of your soul reflect upon
your physical
face?
Presentation, right?
So look, I'll just leave it at that, and I'll show you the lead prosecutor. And she is a lesbian activist, and here's what she's bragging about.
So I'm going to give you an example of something that I did with a recent case of mine, and this has never been done in my office. I had a murder case where the defendant did not intentionally kill the victim. He went into an ATM on the Upper West Side and tried to rob an individual. Unfortunately, it was an older individual. He was 86. And in the course of the robbery, he fell to the ground. And as a result, he died. This is, under the law, a felony murder, which is akin to intentional murder.
Doesn't this sound familiar?
However, when I first got the case, I learned, I took the time to learn about the defendant. And it was a strong case, so it wasn't about a whodunit. I knew immediately who did it. I could prove it. I could take it to trial that day and win it. But it wasn't about that. It was that the more I learned about the defendant and his life and the circumstances, the kinds of things that Jarrell was talking about, that one should take into account the trauma of that individual.
No, not really.
I really felt incredibly sorry for him that he had gotten to that point in his life where he felt like there was no other choice but to
attack 86-year-old people.
So I show that preemptively because there's, of course, more to the story, right?
But you know what? There's two things wrong. That woman should be arrested too.
Yes, in jail.
So this is Daphne Yoren. She's a Manhattan prosecutor, and she's currently throwing the book. She actually referred to Danial Penny during the trial as, quote, the white man.
Yeah.
So
real classy.
She didn't reveal in this video the race of this murder. He killed an Asian college professor, robbing him at an ATM. Was a black man in New York. And she ended up giving him 10 years for manslaughter after he was originally charged with murder because he shoved this guy into an ATM who was like 86 or whatever.
Right.
And
by nature, frail.
Also in New York, as we know, this is all coming full circle to what was done to Trump by Alvin Bragg, but this is Alvin Bragg's district. He reduced 60% of felony cases last year to lesser charges. Yet his office is now trying to lock up a guy.
Elevated against Danial Penny and Donald Trump.
Right. So I see this case as like, I hate to say the vibe shift, but to me, the potential vibe shift in what do we want happening on our streets? And actually breaking as of this morning, the CEO of United Healthcare was just shot in broad daylight in Manhattan and killed.
Yeah.
Targeted, yeah.
And also, if you look at any of the replies online about this, I think it illustrates two things. One, so there are some people who are like
evil,
murder, close to murder angry about healthcare system, which I actually sympathize with. I think that.
But it doesn't matter when it comes
I
to
sympathize with the
justice,
frustration.
right?
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Not the way they're saying it.
The way it's being expressed is if somehow the broad daylight Manhattan murder of a CEO of a company in America is somehow justified, is insane, unhinged, whatever. But to me, it's like, okay, I'm listening to this and I'm hearing it. To me,
the dark side of the progressive left.
Right. And so what happens here in this Danial Penny case? I know we keep bringing this up over and over and over and over again, but I think it's important. If our justice system does not protect a hero, someone protecting other people's lives on a subway, and instead protects criminals, again, Josh always talks about what the purpose of a system is, what it does. We're in a tough spot as a country. How can you even walk about knowing that someone just got shot in Manhattan just because he's CEO of a company? Danial Penny's getting the book thrown at him all at the same time is illustrative that our justice system clearly something broken and we need to reform.
And
I mean, what is it? Oh.
Go ahead, Erica.
So I was just going to say, I do think that we are starting to hit rock bottom with this. And on the West Coast in this last election, we saw the people of Deep Blue LA actually oust. What's his name? George Gascon. Sounds like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Didn't they do it in San Francisco too?
And and in San Francisco, they ousted. They did a whole turnover and
got rid of the Soros DAs.
Right, you're starting to see the backlash, and I think the fact that the Manhattan DA and their prosecutors are not getting that message because they're so entrenched in this DEI equity ideology. It goes back to the leftist ideology. It doesn't connect to reality, and the fact that people are getting killed, people are getting robbed, they're getting mugged, their cars are being broken into, their tires slashed, and all because of this ideology. We're like, but these criminals, they were almost forced to act this way, and so we can't charge them. Talk about equal protection under the law. We can't apply the law equally here. Look at this. We need equal outcomes instead. And that's, I think, like with the election of Nate Hochman out in LA, we're starting to see reality smack people in the face, and they're making the decision. The question is whether it's too late, too little, too late to start to oust these guys. But I certainly hope we can clean house.
You know, it'd be
in Manhattan as well.
Not that any New York Democrats are taking my advice, but I have a Machiavellian idea.
Let's go. Let's do a little Machiavelli.
So the mayor of New York City doesn't have the ability to pardon somebody, but if you'll remember, Lee Zeldin ran for governor in New York and did surprisingly well.
Yeah, it was close.
And so if you're Kathy Hochul, you're kind of looking over your shoulder and thinking to yourself, this is no chip shot for me to win. She's going to probably be challenged in the primary, and I think she'll prevail, but she's then going to have to go to the general, which is not a chip shot anymore. And there's already a congressman who's announced he's going to be running. So she's got to be thinking, gosh, I got to watch out. She should just go ahead and pardon Daniel Penny. It'll torque a lot of the progressive left. But I think she could do it and still win the primary.
It would win some favor.
And then she could come off as, quote, more moderate when she runs in the general. It would be a smart political move for her, that she should consider it. But if that doesn't work, these are all local crimes. So apparently, I don't know if there's really any ability for the President of the United States to
pardon. I don't think Trump can pardon him.
But it'd be nice to kind of come up with some federal charge against him, and then just to transfer him to federal lockup, and then basically say you're under house arrest and you can go home. And
I'm hoping he wins.
Like a loophole to get him out.
I do think it still possibly wins, although you got to think of who the jury's stacked with here. But then again, those people in the jury have to go on the subway.
Yeah.
You would think that they, like, at a certain point, they're like, the ideology's fun and all, but I got to ride the subway, and I don't want to die.
And if you do ever want to visit New York City again, you protect you and your own. Like, if my wife or my children are attacked, I fight back. But if it's someone else, why would I? I saw what you did to this guy. This is like the opposite of Good Samaritan law.
Right. I don't like living in that kind of world, unfortunately.
I don't like living in that kind of a city. That's why I won't visit New York City anymore. I used to. I remember what New York City was like.
Gosh, in the big city?
I remember what New York City was like in the stories of how horrible it was for crime in the 70s and 80s. And I visited New York City in the late 90s after Rudy Giuliani cleaned it up so
Giuliani.
much. You could walk around perfect. It was great. It was wonderful. It was a renaissance for the city, and I loved it. I lived there for a couple of months. I love New York City. It was wonderful. And it's just, it's reverted back down to where it was in the 70s and 80s, where it's just crime ridden.
I'm headed to New York on Sunday. Pray for me. If I'm not here Monday, you know what happened.
Virtual prayer. Okay, so I got a couple different options here. Let's say, we have, I'll do them quick. Update on Trump, update on Biden, okay?
All right.
Let's check in on Trump real quick. He put out this, or where is that? I had that. This is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen to come from Trump, and that's saying a lot. He basically alphaed Justin Trudeau and suggested that Canada could become the 51st state.
Not that hard to alpha, little.
Right. I gotta go to Trump Canada. Let's go quick search, and he posted this on his social.
AI generated Trump. We're coming for you, Canucks.
51st state, Canada.
Oh man, we call it New Alaska, and we get Greenland next. Remember
Why
they
don't we
talked
call
about
it New Florida just to really torque them?
Oh my gosh! Remember Trump talked about buying Greenland too, and everyone thought that was insane. Or like that's like low on the list of insane things Trump has said. Okay, and then next Trump date we have breaking. President Trump has announced that all military members who are discharged for refusing the COVID mandate will be reinstated and receive full back pay, along with a formal apology from the United States. Wow!
Wow, nice! I love it.
Wow!
Do it.
Cannot be happier about that.
Since we got the COVID report this week that said, yes, it came from a lab and no masks didn't work and neither did social distancing, period.
But it's important to note.
The report.
It's important to note, though, like requiring the military to do the vax and having all this woke DEI stuff in the military and the rainbow stuff and the like the drag show on military camp, military bases and all that kind of stuff. People are like, you're destroying the military. As Jesse Kelly said, no, he's not destroying the military. Biden was not destroying it. He's creating a new one. Mm-hmm. And that was the dastardly deed that they were doing. And Donald Trump is a return to normal. We're going to actually have a military that's focused on lethal fighting machines. Right. Hopefully not used a lot, but when used, will win effectively.
Yes.
Amen to that. And I actually, funny you mentioned on COVID, I don't know a way for me to describe this without sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but I know someone who can.
You already sound like one, so you're good.
I basically already do any more than I already do. Let's put it that way. So Mike Benz went on Joe Rogan, and he basically has made it his life's mission to get behind the hood of this misinformation. It's like an industrial complex misinformation, disinformation operation. If I try to explain this, I'm going to sound crazy, but it was already building since about 2014, and it essentially has been a global and domestic operation. They took over, the intelligence community started using the cybersecurity, and when you start hearing the word misinformation, disinformation pop up, that's when this kind of started. And they used a lot of sleight of hand basically to just have world surveillance on an industrial scale on everyone. And they really started using that laser beam around COVID to see how well they can get away from it. Obviously, you see this House report come out saying everything we need to be true, right? That, I don't know, this novel lab that was in Wuhan that worked on coronavirus, that was actually the source of the leak, not someone eating a bat. But they used U.S. assets that they fund these different organizations, USAID being one of them, and they already started attacking that narrative immediately before there was even an established narrative of what happened. They instantly started trying to hide the fact under the guise of misinformation and disinformation by using AI models to basically police what was going on around the world, especially what's going on within the country, to combat that. And it's taking it's 4 years now for that report to come out. So Congress has kind of gotten up to this. I cannot recommend this enough. Go listen to the Mike Benz episode. Yeah, 2 years. But go listen to Mike Benz episode. I sound crazy. I promise I'm not crazy. He has all the receipts. He's one of the sharpest dudes I've heard in a long time. Highly recommend that.
And also like with, what Anthony Fauci did and, giving grants to different groups, and they would do the gain of function, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of this stuff that the government does where they don't do it in-house. They give grants to these NGOs or these other organizations to do the dirty work.
Universities.
That there's less oversight on. And that's actually one of the things that the incoming border czar, Tom Homan, is going to be focusing on the immigration side of things. This idea that the federal government kind of washes their hands like Pontius Pilate of it. Hey, we're not doing this. Yep. They give the money to these charities who do this other kind of stuff. So again, and the Defense Department, CIA are big on that list too. Of like, they don't do it in-house. They use these contractors so that they can, have fewer fingerprints on all the stuff and less oversight.
Yeah, Mike Benz is the man, though. Go check that out. So before I get into the final subject, I saw I'm just going to read this. Again, so much of this episode is just the Twilight Zone. I'm not even there yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this sentence and just let it sit a second. The English Football Association has warned Crystal Palace player Mark Gui for writing, quote, "I love Jesus" over his league-mandated rainbow flag captain armband.
What's the problem with Jesus? Maybe he should have said, "I love Noah," because it's the rainbow, right? For Noah's Ark.
So biblical.
League-mandated rainbow flag captain armband. Where are we right now?
It's obvious what's going on.
Yeah.
The league, the sports league, is very angry at this football player for committing blasphemy against the regime, the jihad regime. Like, he is daring to, desecrate a sacred symbol.
He's not the only one, and there's actually been a player on Manchester United. Right, these are all the highest levels of soccer. Football, actually, and I know, Josh, save your comments, but highest levels of football in the world, really. Right. Abandoned the club's plans to wear a jacket in support of the LGBTQ plus community ahead of Sunday's Premier League match against Everton. So the whole team is joined around this guy, Nusar Mazraoui. Mm-hmm. And he individually didn't wear the captain's armband. I believe it might be actually another player. He was an Egyptian player who didn't wear the armband.
That didn't wear one at all. Yeah, I saw that too.
Right. And I was just thinking more about this. Like, it's, and activists, of course, were jumping on this being like, your religion isn't an excuse to be bigoted towards reality. You're just masking your hatred. And the organization that the Premier League partnered with for this is called Stonewall. And of course, you go over their website, you find out what they're doing. They are funding gender surgeries. They have like weird youth hubs to talk to kids. I mean,
they try to get minors into these chat rooms and hubs in order to target them.
It's all the worst of the worst. So for you to even put in the fact that the league would make you wear this, I was just thinking for a second, I was like, okay, I hate to do this because it's like the conservative trope, but could you imagine, all right, the Premier League partners with a Christian organization, every captain's now going to wear a cross on their shoulder.
Yeah.
The outrage that would have followed that would be unbelievable. So I feel like courage now in the modern day actually now is, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to bend the knee and stick to my convictions because there's real people at stake by me showing my support to this, partnering with an organization that actually does this to children and people. Even if whatever your sexual orientation is or attraction is kind of besides the point at this point. Like we have activist organizations partnering for you to wear something in support in which money will go now somewhere else. Even if it's not a principal thing, it's just crazy how aggressive and mutated. I almost feel at this point, I was looking through comments too. A lot of people are saying, good for you. We support you. The tide is just completely flipped on this. I think a lot of it, the Supreme Court case got a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and Trump's victory, too. People feel like they can speak out and say what they really feel.
Yeah, I think Trump actually has had an influence globally on people's courage in some of these issues. Because, I mean, Supreme Court.
American leadership, baby.
Maybe, but I think when you're looking at these global figures like the football stars here, soccer football stars, for clarity, what you're seeing is this blowback. It's interesting too that you have the Christian player who's going to put Jesus's name like over the rainbow there to show like I'm really for Jesus, not for this. And then you actually have it's these Muslim players who are saying no to the trans ideology, and to the LGBTQ stuff equally. So that could be a positive aspect of mass immigration in Europe, that we get some morality back. I don't know if it's the way I'd want to do it, but Maybe they'll give some courage to those Catholic bishops over there.
And we have Tagarika. Again, she's actually giving me, sorry, I can't see the profile. I think it's she is giving me an update. She's from Africa, I'm pretty sure. She said she's from Africa. Listen, she's in the chat now. Says it's Mazraoui. Someone just needs to lock me in a room with a pronunciation specialist and just.
It was hard enough for you to get, the French Louisiana accent.
Dude, we had to do France, Africa, and Korea all on the same day.
Yeah. I was actually on CNN stuff this morning trying to get the Korean pronunciations going there, and I may have failed.
Someone lock me in a room and just teach me how to pronounce.
Come on.
Crazy.
Just embrace the Anglo nature and say it how you want to.
I'm very Anglo-centric, unfortunately. Fortunately, it's not unfortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for the catch. Josh, how much time do you have here?
Hey, let's just do mine first. Let's go.
All right.
There's a few things I wanted to talk about. I mean, there's so much, as you say,
Dang it. All right, let me stop the show. It's a guy, not a girl. I can't. The profile pictures are really small. I apologize. Shout out to Tagarika. You're a legend. Go ahead. Sorry, Josh. I felt bad.
All right. So CBS Evening News decided to do a report on, guess what?
What is that?
People of North Carolina suffering from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. See,
they actually
now with the election over, it's safe for them to report on this.
Oh, that's what happened.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? So sweet. So yeah, here's the whole report on it. Like, victims struggling for help and shelter months later.
They got snow.
This was still true on October 25th, but you wouldn't dare say it because it might hurt, Kamala Harris's chances of election. So again, this is what we talk about. Like I've been in terms of the election interference, I've been less on Democrats like stealing votes and more just on how we have billion-dollar news corporations, pretending like they're neutral. The arms of justice, equal justice, and they just put their hands on the scale every time. Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation. The dossier, Trump and all this stuff. It's like when in fact it was all them. So I just wanted to get that out there. But the other thing is,
Josh, wait, did you hear the good news though? Biden actually pledged to send $1 billion somewhere.
To North Carolina?
To African countries, yes.
To Africa,
to help them rebuild, yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. Again, I just feel like if North Carolina had pretended that it was a foreign country, if it came up with some sort of Ukrainian name, that maybe we get some funding for it.
Yeah, they should just change their name. Or you know what? Honestly, in his advanced age, Josh, think about it. In his advanced age, maybe he won't know exactly where on the map these African countries are, so we could just pretend, hey, it's actually right here in North Carolina.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Well, he was in Africa and he said, "Welcome to America," and it's like,
he also fell asleep today, of this morning during a meeting.
The round table.
They're leading him around like a toddler. I swear, it's like a kid stole their dad's credit card and are just maxing it out before dad gets home, and Trump's about to get home. It's crazy. Doesn't Congress need to approve this? You can't just say, hey, I'm going to give $1 billion to a different country.
There are some times where presidents are given discretionary funds to give it as they want to. But yes, Congress would have to authorize it first.
I think discretion.
It's probably already been authorized is what I'm saying. And then a real palate cleanser for all the crazy store we have.
Yay, palate
I just found out about this, posted on socials by Jose. St. Ignatius High School, it's a Catholic school in Cleveland, has a ministry serving as pallbearers for individuals with little or no family. And so you get these high school boys.
Some chads.
I just think this is, I absolutely love this so much.
I love this.
This warms my heart. This is so Catholic. In the sense that we're on it together. Too. We're one family. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I bet these young boys have such pride in doing this. I want to try to encourage this in my local area. I think this is the coolest thing in the world. And, nothing gets, there's so many attacks on masculinity. But you know what? You look at this, I think everyone would agree. This is a really good thing for young boys to understand life.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine these sweet little grandmas who are just so touched by having the 16-year-old young man carry the casket. This is so Catholic. I love it.
Yeah. I just huge shout out St. Ignatius.
More, baby.
St. Ignatius High School. It is in Cleveland, and these are boys from the Arimathea pallbearer ministry. Got that one right, I think.
Shout out to
And
Joseph
so don't say I don't say
Evangelist.
nothing good about Jesuits. This is
400 students
Fair
who
and balanced.
assist. They assist at 150 to 180 funerals annually. That's a lot.
That's a lot of funerals. That's great.
This is so beautiful.
Good for them, man.
Yeah.
You guys are heroes.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Erica.
All right. I also have, this is like good news. So it was all Twilight Zone, and I just to like put it out there for everyone in the chat, I had 4 Twilight Zones. Like I was putting them into my show notes, and as I would put them in, Pogo would be typing the Twilight Zone into the actual show discussion topic. So I'd have to like delete my Twilight Zone.
Process.
So I went with Chris Rufo. We love to talk about Chris. Great guy, major anti-DEI hero. He's going to be involved in the Trump administration. And this morning in my email inbox, I got his blueprint for the counter revolution. This is amazing stuff. I'm going to do more on Friday because I didn't have time to read the whole thing. But basic premise is the United States should strip left-wing, he calls it racialism rather than racism, because he's talking about the actual like really bad ideology, and racism has been overused. So strip left-wing racialism from the federal government, which is no mean task, and recommit the country to the principle of colorblind equality. And he's calling on Trump to have an aggressive campaign that will put an end to forms of discrimination disguised under the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in this long manifesto, he goes through step by step 6 areas of attack, including bureaucracy, including content, including funding, including staffing. And he's talking about harnessing the power of AI to comb through the like 86,000 documents that have foisted DEI into the executive branch, destroyed Article 2 of the Constitution, and get it back on track. This is a great step-by-step how-to. I'm going to give you more of these points on Friday once I can go through it, because I am geeking out over not just the theory, but the actual praxis of how to get this done.
You're telling me you're thinking about refining your approach?
I'm going to totally refine my approach. I'm going to go work for Chris Rufo for free for 80 hours a week. No, okay.
Absolutely not. You do way too much.
Letting you go.
Okay. Are you good, Erica?
I'm good.
She threatens that right near the annual review. Okay.
Well played. Art of the deal types.
Hey.
I'm not exact. I was crying this morning. I still kind of am like semi laughing at the meeting I had before the show. This is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. So as many of you know, I probably have the sense of humor of a teenage boy often. And
I mean, you are a teenage boy, right?
Pretty damn close.
Get a license here one day.
So, probably my favorite member of The View, Anne Navarro, fellow Catholic. She, naturally, as probably one of the highest levels of hypocrisy and nepotism and corruption, pardoning Hunter Biden back to 2014 from Joe Biden. They let's just say, not surprised at where they landed on it, and she had to run out the defense. And so she put up a tweet of other famous pardons, and I'm going to read it in reverse because it makes it funnier.
Okay.
Donald Trump pardoned his daughter's father-in-law, Charlie Kushner, and just appointed him to ambassador to France. Bill Clinton pardoned his brother, Roger, and Woodrow Wilson pardoned his brother-in-law, Hunter DeButts.
What?
Okay. So for the
what?
So for those of you who I guess are experts on
that
Woodrow
sounds like
Wilson
a stage name for
Hunter DeButts'
son.
Guys, Hunter DeButts is not a real person, and she just people were wildly trying to figure out where did she find this name Hunter DeButts? Who is Hunter DeButts? And he did nothing wrong. I'm on team Hunter DeButts. He did nothing wrong. Now, if you think that's where it ends, you're wrong. Anne Navarro, after getting roasted for this, and people being like, where did you find this? She thought this would be a great response. Hey, Twitter sleuths, thanks for taking the time to provide context. Take it up with ChatGPT.
What? Oh,
she found Hunter DeButts on ChatGPT. Yes. So she put in the prompt, have any U.S. presidents pardon relatives or in-laws? ChatGPT. Yes. Some U.S. presidents have pardoned their relatives or in-laws. Here are key examples. The Bill Clinton comes up. Donald Trump comes up.
That's true.
Woodrow Wilson pardoned Hunter DeButts, his brother-in-law, after he was court-martialed during World War I for military misconduct. The pardon was believed to protect the family's reputation. Oh my goodness. Hunter DeButts is not real, guys.
Yeah.
So there is no real person?
There's no real person named Hunter DeButts. He didn't do anything wrong. There actually are like modern people named Hunter DeButts. I think there's a tight end maybe named Hunter DeButts. Definitely wasn't Woodrow Wilson's brother.
There's a member of the men's lacrosse team at Princeton.
Yes, I think that's what I meant. Oh my gosh, she thought this was a great response.
And do then, not use ChatGPT for fact checking.
Like, quickly, you get a context on Twitter. ChatGPT and other large language models are prone to, quote, hallucinating details, wherein false or misleading information is presented as fact. Like,
so I got the community note, which said that there is no evidence that Woodrow Wilson had a brother-in-law with the name of Hunter DeButts. There was at least one person with that name living during the presidency, but there's nothing to suggest any relation, that they were pardoned, and that the only result actually is this tweet.
And so she hosts a show called The View, in which they deliver news to the people. And it makes me really just reconsider the whole show. Do they get all their information off ChatGPT? Hunter DeButts is innocent and he did nothing wrong.
These people in the establishment media are lazier than you think.
Hunter DeButts is the GOAT and he's perfectly innocent. It also reminds me over the weekend, I know we kind of get in trouble I'm not going to swear intentionally, but one of my favorite things is when you get people to say a name out loud that intentionally sounds funny. Yeah. And my shout out to my teenage brother-in-law. I think he made like the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection to one of the devices in the home. Hue, H-U-E, Jass, J-A-S-S. Okay. And my sweet wife just out loud saw it. Who is? And then she said it, and I was crying. That's my humor. I'm brave and honest. That's just it. But I'm gonna round this out. This is like
the teenage boy Twilight Zone. Let's go. Give us another one, Pogo.
I'm gonna round this out with some maturity. I'm gonna get around to it. Don't worry.
All right.
So I saw an article on First Things that was phenomenal, and it really.
Did you say First Things? That is maturity.
Wow.
I know.
All right.
Look,
did you read it?
The Duality of Man. Yes, I did. So this has to do a lot with the education policy. We talk on this and largely my philosophy on education. So an education should have nothing to do with negotiating our share of work with robots, however necessary the task may be in the world of labor. I'd just like to first give a shout out to this author, S.A. Dance. It was phenomenal. Basically, a summary is she was talking about as a teacher of English, the dawn of these language models she instantly saw and how she even tried it herself and how I was able to pronounce kind of C-level essays for stuff that she was assigning. And many were kind of lamenting that this was going to be the end of English. I think direct quote, end of English from The Atlantic, and how this is going to change education. And she had a lot on just the profound difference, as you said, arguing with robots. Both the hysteria of end of English and the ridiculous arguments presented by Harvard for how and how not to use AI misunderstand the nature of education. They presuppose that the purpose of education lies in what a student can produce. This is a materialist framework. The quality of one's education, sorry, I moved there for a second. Quality of one's education is judged by the quality of what one produces. If this is true, AI would indeed pose a serious threat to the very notion of education. For if a machine can produce the same things I can, and the purpose of my education is to increase my capacity to produce things, why bother getting educated? And education should have nothing to do with negotiating our share of work with robots. However necessary the task may be in the world of labor. Education, though, is not labor. It is a spiritual pursuit. Its goal is to cultivate and nourish our interior lives. As a uniquely human endeavor, it should refine our capacity to think rationally. All right, who keeps moving this?
That's Mercer.
All right, stop moving it.
I'm not touching nothing.
I can't read.
Rosie, cut it out.
As a uniquely human endeavor, it should refine our capacities to think rationally, contemplate reality, and appreciate beauty, and feel gratitude. To truly cultivate these capacities, schools must safeguard and encourage what Joseph Pieper calls leisure.
My man, yes.
And if you'd like to know a little bit more, go read Leisure, the Basis of Culture. Yes. It's a pretty foundational text.
I don't have time for that.
Well, there you go. There's your problem.
We'll give you
and you can keep using ChatGPT and find Hunter DeButts. Was going to be my roundabout problem. But essentially, and Navarro might want to get back to reading some books instead of ChatGPTing, who got pardoned and getting 100 butts. Yeah. That's where I'll end it. Josh, I know you're in the swamp. You got a lot of work today. Thanks for joining. We have a Friday episode, TBD on Josh. We might have a special guest. We might have Josh. We'll let you guys know then. If you want to help out the show, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org, or join the Champions Club. We're so grateful for our champions allowing us to do what we do. I mean, it's only possible.
That's why we do it.
That's why we do it. And I had to put together a case of support for the Loopcast for our fearless leader, the Oracle of Petoskey, and hard to express how grateful I am to. I was going through just emails. It's like, how could I explain the Loopcast any better than what people have already said? And really, some of the nicest. It really makes me feel good about what we're doing here and encourages me to keep going and keep making you guys happy. So really, really appreciate those emails. And thank you to all the support and kind words that you have all sent in. I'm going to go learn some new language pronunciations, but until the next one, pray for us, St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis.